Hello.
Hello.
Welcome everyone. Let's wait another minute or two. See if some more of us can join today. Feel free to sign yourself in. So today is April the 26th. Welcome everyone. Yeah, we still miss a few of us. But I guess in the interest of time, should probably get started. We have a few things on the agenda. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Just making sure I'm not talking to myself.
Yes, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, you're good.
Okay. Cool. Thanks. All right. Yeah, welcome everyone. So to start action item from last meeting, I only had one action item, I think, Fatih, for you to document, starting a draft about the documentation for chair election. We had some discussion last time about what happens with the chair if the chair is not part of the TOC anymore, and so forth.
Yeah, I'm working on that, and I will send an issue perhaps, or I sharing Google Doc. Yeah, I can create an issue and share the Google Doc under that issue so everyone can see that. The reason it hasn't happened yet because we are still, working with getting up this charter update version of charter to be approved by the board. That might, have impacts on chair and deputy chair election policy. So it might be better to have that together so we can have one policy discussing both positions.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Fatih. Since you're talking, do you want to discuss the TOC 23 elections?
So this year we have 6 out of 9 seats up for elections within Techno Site Committee. So 2 end-user representative seats are, their terms for 1 year, Emil and Justin, and the terms, I think, terms expire April 30th this weekend. And currently the voting is happening. And in this election, only the end-user members can vote. So we have 6 voters because we have 6 end-user members. Hopefully, beginning of next week, we should know the results, and we will announce that on mail lists and Slack who will be the end-user representatives within TOC. The second election is about project representatives, which is what we discussed during the previous TOC meeting as well. So while we were working on documenting the process, we identified few things there. The last time when the project representatives were elected, a certain process was followed, but I don't remember that process being discussed within TOC. It may have been, but it's been 2 years now. So instead of we copying that process and following that, we want to get TOC to look at what that process was and, suggest any changes. And the 3 questions we asked there, since these are project representative elections, the last time only people with 10 or more commits were considered as eligible voters within project representative elections. And as we all know, people can contribute to our projects in different ways. Commits are not the only way people can contribute. And we want to make sure that TOC is aware how the 2021 elections were done. And if TOC wants to extend the eligibility criteria to include like pull request activities or issue activities, we can, add that to our election process and broaden the voter base. So that is first question. The second question is about term. Current project representatives have 2 years term. We just want to mention, like, if TOC wants to keep 2 years terms for the projects. And the last question is about term limits. We don't have any limits currently for individuals, like individuals can serve on the TOC 2 terms on row or something like that. And the question is like, would TOC want to introduce some kind of term limits as well? And all these questions are on that issue. I linked there. And if anyone wants to, have a conversation, please go and comment it there. Like I put the links there. And then based on what comes up from this discussion, then we can document that process. If no one responds by, I think we should start the process mid-May or something, then we followed last year's or 2021 election process as is, with no changes, 2-year terms, no term limits, and only the people with commits are eligible to vote.
One question on which we touched before. So LFX Insights was about providing an easier way to locate contributors. not just by commits. So I guess it's still part, at least I don't see this functionality on LFX insights.
Oh, it is there actually. Like that is what was used for 2021 elections. Like the wording in that document was the people, community members with 10 or more commits will be, those people will be extracted from LFX insights, and those people will receive the ballots. In addition to that, to make sure like we don't miss voters, there will be a voter registration form as well, like because insights might have issues. People can state that they should be considered as voters because of whatever reasons, and then that will be reviewed by the election officers. So yes, we will be using insights again.
Yeah. So action item for every organization to ensure that LFX Insights has a correct list of the repositories, because otherwise the data won't be scrubbed correctly by the bot.
I can actually send, that's a good point, Oleg. We onboarded all the projects to LFX Insights end of last year, and based on the organizations, GitHub organizations we know, I can add those organizations we registered on Insights to that issue actually, and say, please, project representatives, check this list is correct. If we are missing any org or repo, just let us know so we get the list corrected. Maybe Andre, if you can action me. Yeah. And also, last point, we will only consider last year's contributions. That was how it was for 2021. Not like we are not going in time, back in time 5 years, because some of those contributors are not with those communities anymore. So last year's contributors.
So basically you expect 10 commits within 1 year, or?
Yeah, 10 or more, yeah.
Okay.
But that is the current criteria.
This is what I didn't grasp from your pull request, because I understood that 10 commits from the beginning of times of the project. And for Jenkins, for example, you have plenty of contributors who do not longer commit code.
Yeah, it's like 10 commits past year. I can update the issue. I thought I mentioned.
Yeah, it would be really important, because I think we will need to do something, because yeah, I definitely know about active contributors who just do not commit code in our project.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, it's like
they committed, let's say, a few years ago.
So it's like
this is the discussion we've been having with the LFX requirements, is that there is really no way for us to track project activity outside of a commit process.
Well, you have to install Grimoire Lab. Yeah, sorry.
So LFX Insights can show commits, PR activities, and issue activities. So if you think like people who take part in reviewing pull requests, like, because I've seen some people, they have no commits over the past year, but they have like 300 PR activity because they've been reviewing PRs instead of like, because they don't have time.
Yeah, but there's a difference. There's a difference between that and people who are doing more outreach activity, which can be as consuming, like writing white papers.
And even for commits, you expect that individual LF profiles are configured correctly, because many contributors do commits using the corporate emails. And unless somebody associates this email, it won't be counted properly on LFX Insights.
Okay, then that form actually, voter registration form could actually cover like what Tracy you said, like we have lots of people helping with outreach, they should be considered as voters. Then you can submit those names via form from Ortelius commit, for example, and same with other things like pull request reviews and so on. So we make sure like we actually recognize people's other types of contributions.
Yes, no, the voter registration form tries to cover that. It'd be nice if we just had a way to track people's activities in general, not just through Git.
Yeah. But then what we can do, we can document the process based on like what we discussed. We just take commits and then we explicitly state any other contributions. They are also valuable, and this voter registration form should be used for bringing those committee members as voters, because we need to start this process pretty soon, so people can start talking about this process within their projects. They can start registering voters. It will take a while, so it would be good to get this in place as soon as possible.
Yeah, will project leads have access to the list of voters? Because
we will publish the list of voters like 2021 elections. Voters.md file was there for 2021. We will do the same for 2023, this year's elections. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Just
and
the
last,
names, right?
I think last year's 2021 voters.md contained GitHub handles. We can do the same for this year's election. So if you open that issue, Andrea, there should be, or if you go to TOC repo, yeah. If you go to TOC repo and to elections folder, elections 2021, and that voters.md. So this is some people have their full names, some only have handles. And we can try to, I don't know if it makes sense, but we can try to list per project basis, so everyone can look at their own projects rather than looking at 300 people. And the last ask is, can you review, please review the pull requests. There we have a pull request documenting end user election process. Unfortunately, we were late documenting that. So then we can send project representative election process as well. Because we need to put timeline there like this one for project elections. And that was all about elections from me.
Is there something we need to do to get this moving forward so you can get the process started, Fatih?
Yeah, I think if we can get this pull request merged, then we can update that file and introduce the project representative elect as well. And then we should have that election process ready by next TOC meeting. And then we kick off the entire process. That would give us 6 weeks, which is the minimum time we need, I think. But please start talking about this within your communities. This is coming. So the boards or technical committees within the projects should decide how to nominate candidates for this election.
Yeah, I don't think, Steve, do you see anything from a Ortelius standpoint that there's issue with this? And I mean, the question around term limits, I don't think we should have term limits. Well, I think yes, I think there should be you should have to get reelected every 2 years. Let's just put it that way. But you should be able to be reelected as many times as the community wants to elect you. I don't think you should be restricted after serving a certain period of time. And I say that partly because I know how hard it is to get, volunteers to serve on these kind of committees who actually want to dig in and do some work.
Yeah, I looked at our insights and the Ortelius project, and the repos look pretty accurate. So that looks good on that front. But like you said, we just need to make sure that in the pull request, we have the references to the alternative way to handle, what were you calling it, Fatih? The voter
registration form.
Registration, yeah.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that that's documented.
Yeah.
About the term limits, I think I agree with you, Tracy, that it's hard to find volunteers. on the other side, having some limits or at least some recommendations might kind of help us to work on like preparing the next volunteer, the next leaders in this group, if it makes sense. I'm just worried that if we don't set any limits at all, then it's just easy to continue. While we have some limits, maybe then we are kind of forced to find new people who wants to stand up and take the role. At least I know for myself, I tend to maybe, okay, if I don't have a limit, I say, okay, well, I'll just continue to do this, but I don't know. Or we could have a recommendation if you're not comfortable with limits, say maybe we recommend that we have a two terms, but we leave it up to the TOC to make a final decision so that we don't constrain ourselves into a situation where we don't have another candidate.
And that would be another way to do this, is to, and I don't know if the projects themselves have TOCs. I know Artilius, we're going to run elections for TOCs this year. If the projects have their own TOC, then the TOC could nominate somebody from the project TOC to be a project representative, and we wouldn't have to have elections.
Right. The thing is, we still need to have elections for the TOC because we have more projects and seats. So, I mean, that's what we do in Tecton for.
Yeah, I see.
Tecton, we have a governing board. We discuss within the governing board candidate, but there's no guarantee that that candidate will actually have a seat on the TOC.
Do you have does Tecton have a TOC as well?
No, we have a governing board.
Yeah, that's Ortelius has a governing board, but we're considering putting together a small, I would call it maybe like an architecture review committee or something that just as technical topics. So then, Fati, what needs to happen to get that pull request merged? And you're talking about the pull request for both the end users and the issue and the one for project representatives?
So that pull request, if you can get that like pull request reviewed, I'm not saying we should merge if there's an issue, we should update, but that's documenting how we are running these elections for end users. So what we want to do is like we want to write same kind of document for project representatives as well. Because like if you find a missing information on this pull request, then we can fix it and include that info in project representatives as well.
So should we review it right now? You want us to walk through it right now and try to get it resolved, or is this something you want us to do independently?
Yeah, we can quickly go through the document if you have time. I see Cameron is waiting for Sprinklr project update, so I don't want to take the time from his presentation. Well, it's pretty simple document, like it talks about what TOC member, being TOC member means, what is the timeline when the election starts, when the ballots are distributed, candidate criteria, voter criteria, and so on. But it's pretty standard document, but I just want to make sure we all see what is there and find out if anything is missing. So it can wait, we can still create a pull request in parallel to this one up there once this one is merged. Up to
you. Yeah, we have a few things on the agenda.
Yeah.
So maybe could I suggest we have Cameron presentation and we go for the agenda, and if we still have time, we can do the review online. Otherwise, we do it offline. It makes sense.
I like that idea.
That's good for me. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Anything else on the elections we need to discuss now, or otherwise we can start with the project update? Okay. Sounds good. So thanks, Cameron, for preparing your project update for today. I will stop sharing so that you can get started.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Let me share my screen. Hope everyone is having a good day today. I just want to present this. And I don't know how to do that. Well, we'll just do it like this. Awesome. There we go. That's not it either. Cool. All right. So, hey, everyone. Welcome to the Spinnaker project update. I just want to go over a quick project history and then talk about some of the governance changes we've done and then talk about our roadmap for this next year. So let's go into it. And please, at any point, feel free to unmute and ask some questions. So Spinnaker was born back in 2015. It was created out of Netflix. Netflix was a pretty heavy user of AWS's VMs strategy at that point. There was not much of a UI on top of AWS, and Netflix wanted to improve the developer experience for their developers. So they created created Spinnaker back in 2015. It was open sourced a year later after Google joined the project. And as it was being open sourced, Armory and OpsMX basically came into existence as vendors for the Spinnaker open source community. So we started growing a bunch. We participated in the Google Summer of Code for a few years, and we hosted week-long community hackathons. This was a really cool new type of a hackathon that we did. It was worldwide hackathon where it was 24/7 for about a week, and we did have people taking shifts essentially as mentors for the teams that we created. So the idea was you don't have to have a team or a project idea to participate in the hackathon. It was really to start, really to help improve our contributors. So get new folks into the Spinnaker project. For those who don't know, Spinnaker is a pretty, I guess I would say like heavyweight deployment tool. So it's not the simplest to run and manage. However, it scales very well for large enterprise organizations. Because of that, the community members are made up of mostly large enterprises, and the developers come from those organizations. Again, because of that, we wanted to start and bring people outside the community in as new members so that we could keep the project going and be successful. And then COVID hit, and that was very sad. So some major contributors and community leaders left the project. Both Netflix and Google have stepped back from the project in pretty major ways. We saw contributions go down. I think this was a pretty common thing we saw across different open source organizations during this time. So the steering committee wasn't really engaged, and the technical oversight committee wasn't really engaged either. There was one or two active members as part of the technical oversight committee. During this time as well, the release process broke. There was a lot of hard-coded dependencies on third-party services that ended up shutting down, and that took us quite a bit of time to fix up. During this time, though, it wasn't all bad. Salesforce joined the community as a contributor and has really come in as a really great community leader. So very thankful for Salesforce joining the community. All right, let's go to the next slide. So as we were leaving the major COVID days, let's say, we were discussing internally at Armory about trying to revive the community. Like, hey, Spinnaker is this cool thing. We know many people are using it. That's not a question to us. We have customers. We know our friends over at OpsMX. We know they have many customers. We know the people in the community. So there is a community there. How do we get them? How do we get this started again? So Meeting in person was amazing for this. We met many community members here, especially at from CDF at CDCon in Austin in 2022. So I met a lot of people in the community I hadn't met before, and that was really great. Just talking with people and getting an idea of what people wanted out of Spinnaker and out of the community. It's a very, very broad topic, but that was kind of the intent is, hey, what are you guys here for? You came to CDCon, you're coming to the Spinnaker Summit talks. Why? Who are you? What are you interested in? So I took that opportunity to start to recruit new technical oversight committee members. So we were really intentional about, sorry about that. We were really intentional about who and how we went about forming this new committee. So we wanted to get contributors, vendors, and large users, so it wasn't all stacked in one area. We ended up going with 9 members total. That wasn't, we wanted either 7 or 9 members, so it was kind of a who all's interested, and let's see who's raising their hand there. Oops. So we worked with the previous technical oversight committee and steering committee from the Spinnaker side and the CDF on updating the governance structure. So Patty was a huge help in all that. We did, while the technical oversight committee and steering committee weren't active, we knew those people. They were part of the community. So we just reached out and said, hey, do we have your blessing on changing up the leadership structure and updating the governance? So what we did is we combined the technical oversight committee and the steering committee into one group so that we could be more agile in terms of our decision making. It is comprised of both technical and non-technical folks. So we do a lot of discussions, both technical as well as like event planning. And hey, who's going to be talking on this panel? Can we recruit new members for working on this project, so on and so forth. And again, the other intent was faster decision making and action. So as I said, we had a lot of intent with creating this committee. So we gathered motivations for joining the technical oversight committee. And then we used those motivations as saying, hey, we all came in with something we want out of the community. And we all came in with the expectation we're going to be helping out with the community as well. Helping out in this case means attending technical oversight committee meetings, publicly speaking about Spinnaker at least once a year, and having members from your organization contribute code to the project. So we used these motivations for setting expectations for TOC members and then aligning on the project roadmap. All right, and let's continue on. I guess I'll quickly go over our governance, our technical oversight committee members. Let's see. So we have a site. We've got all of our governance in Spinnaker, here in GitHub. So if we take a look at the governance information, the current members of our technical oversight committee, it's Amy Spidutz from Netflix, myself, I'm the chair, I'm from Armory. We've got Cole at Autodesk, the DC from Apple, who some of you have believed in that, David Byron over at Salesforce, Gupnath at OpsumX, James from Home Depot, Matt Gogerly at JPMC, and Cressida from AWS. So we did want to try to get some cloud providers joining the technical oversight committee to show their intent in supporting the project. All right, and then the project roadmap. So for 2022, most of what we were doing was focused on fixing the release process, getting ourselves unblocked. There's going to be more improvements to come. So we've updated all the automation. Not all the automation. There's always more things to automate. So we're still working on the release process and shifting left on our testing. So right now, testing happens very late in the process, and we want it to happen as part of our main development cycle. In addition, we're starting to set up a release manager rotation. So as we've fixed and improved the release process, that knowledge about how it works is consolidated within a few folks. So we're setting up a release manager rotation and getting more folks brought up to speed. Thanks. Nice talking. So we also restarted the RFC process, and we started doing this by showing, hey, these are the projects we want to do. Let's get community input on them, and let's start discussions in public again. So we restarted the RFC process as part of 2022. And then going into 2023, our main objectives are to improve contributions to Spinnaker. So we're currently working on modernizing Spinnaker. We're upgrading Spring, Java, and Gradle. And this is helping improve security a lot. Graduating from CDF is on our roadmap at some point, so we're working to get towards that goal. We do want to reduce the barrier of entry for getting started, so we're working on improving our install methods for getting, like a day one use. Just get it set up and going so that you can get your hands on. Then we also are setting up a monorepo. So this is really going to drastically simplify development and release. Spinnaker is comprised of 12 microservices, and it's quite a lot to develop. By having a monorepo, it's really going to help our testing and our reliability of our product. We've been very interested in CD events integration that came out as part of one of our RFCs from Ericsson. So we're really looking forward to integrating CD events into the project. The current idea is to start to trigger pipelines based on CD events. However, I'm really looking forward to becoming for Spinnaker to be a producer of CD events as well for other tools in the CD space. Lastly, we want to focus on performance improvements. So, like I said, Spinnaker is used by very large enterprises throughout the world, and the performance these enterprises are hitting these scaling issues. So it's really cool to see. It's also a challenge that Spinnaker has is how do we improve performance for very, very large setups. As I'm sure most of you know, every company has their own unique way of deploying and managing their software lifecycle. And because of that, it's challenging to identify common areas of improvement for scaling. All right, and that is it. That was them. Thanks very much. And does anyone have any questions? Yes, Tracy.
So you have a TOC. You just brought one on. Did you have a governing board before?
We did. So we had a steering committee and we had a technical oversight committee. And the steering committee was largely that they were technical folks, but that wasn't their day-to-day operations. It was more directors, leaders within the company and business units.
Right.
And then we had a technical oversight committee, and then we also have SIGs as well. So now it's technical oversight committee, and then SIGs, and then we meet on a bi-weekly, every other week basis.
Thank you. Ortelius is going through the are we or are we not going to do a TOC, but I think it will be, I think it's an important part to pull some of our architecture SIG folks over and give them a TOC role. And you think that helps solidify some of your contributors then? Yeah, so what I observed, and I totally might be wrong on this, but the split from that we had with the steering committee, the technical oversight committee, I think there was, I don't exactly know what, it felt like there was a little bit of a lack of communication between the two organizations. And so it was like the folks who were helping throw events weren't necessarily talking to the contributors as much, and the project roadmap started to get unclear and things started to seem to fall apart. So the decision-making seemed to go very slow and there wasn't too much action being taken. The committees weren't meeting very often. And so all of these things kind of came into play when we were coming up with the expectations for the new TOC members. It is
that's one of the reasons we included joining the meetings on a regular basis as an expectation. If you're not participating, you're not participating, and you're not being active, and you're not contributing to the community. And then it just goes back to the expectations on, well, we're all here to participate and help move this forward. And if we're not doing that, let's find a way to do that better. We are still learning.
Charter? Do you have a charter for that you could share?
I'll have to look it up. We did update our governance structure, but it was more, I would say, boilerplate. Let me take a look though.
Yeah, if you have a charter, I would love to see it instead of writing one from scratch.
Most definitely, yeah.
Here, I'll shoot you my email, and if you have one, if there's my email, it's just Tracy at Deploy Hub.
Awesome.
You do have it. And I would love to get together with you at if anybody's at CDCon and really talk about adoption, because that's one of our challenges as well.
Totally, yeah, I'd love to discuss it.
I mean, not adoption in general, but just it making the on-ramp for adoption easier.
Mm-hmm. It's something that we constantly struggle with. It's not a simple thing.
It's not.
One of the hardest parts for us it's I don't know if it's silly or not, but we have so many microservices and we have a shared library. And when you update that shared library, all the services get updated, and testing that
guess
out.
what? Artelius can handle that for you. That's what it does.
See, this is perfect.
We don't have that issue. We can fix that.
Yeah, so
Ours
we are
is just
moving to a mono repo with the intent of help to fix that idea, but I'd love to learn how Artelius can help with that.
If we get together at CDCon and you can tell us about making just simplifying the on-ramp, we will show you how we figure out how those microservices map together and how you figure out what you have to deploy.
Right on. Well, yeah, appreciate it. And I'll share the slides after this meeting.
And I have a quick question with your, when you added the criteria around, what people are on the, like the TOC need to be doing and things like that. Did you look at any gamification around that?
Not for the TOC, no. No, we haven't done too much gamification. Let me think. The only time we've used gamification, I think, has been for the hackathon, is to entice contributors and give prizes there. But no, we haven't considered that.
Okay, just curious. Thanks.
Just as a side note, we award badges every 6 months, and it is a motivating factor for people to contribute and get involved in 2 different things.
Oh, I like it. Totally. Sweet. We'll have to come up with some cool swag, or badges are free. Do you give the badges through like the Linux Foundation, or how's that?
We do it through Badgely. It's free for open source communities. Pretty easy. And the team had a blast creating the badges. It's an evil lord. I don't know how PC that is, but that's what they created. An alien evil lord.
Love it.
Obviously, a lot of gamers.
Right on. Any other questions for the Spinnaker project update? Right on. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you, Cameron. That was great.
Oh. Hey, Andrea, we can't hear you. Yeah, you were on mute. We just can't hear you talking. Like maybe your headphones?
Are you back there, Andre?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry about that. Something happened with my headphones. I hope it's not too bad. I was saying thanks a lot, Cameron, for the great presentation. And yeah, if you have any more questions to Cameron, I guess Cameron, you're quite often for participant to this meeting. So
I do my best. Yeah.
And Cameron, did Spinnaker sign up for a Spinnaker project summit at CDCon?
Yes. Yeah. We have a track at CDCon.
Well, there is a project summit as well that you can schedule a room during lunch and for your project.
Oh, I'll have to take.
Let me share that with you. Because if you did, then that would be a good place for some of the Ortelius folks to chat with your team.
there are a couple of slots marked with Spinnaker by Fernando Freire.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for demos. Awesome.
So there's
Fatih, do you have that schedule for that? For some reason, I'm not finding it. Oh, here it is.
I can put the link in the chat.
And then if you look on, there's several tabs. There's one for project. Oh, so there's two for Spinnaker. Yeah. You haven't decided between 7:30 on May 8th or 5:30 on May 9th.
Okay, I'll reach out to Fernando to have him choose one.
And yeah, do it on the, I'm guessing it'd be better off to do
Started on the
7:30 in
8th.
the morning on May 8th. Everybody's going to be just arriving. There's a slot from 12 to 1:30 on May 8th, though. That's the lunch slot.
Mhm. We might be doing
Anyways.
a demo or a workshop, I think, at that time.
Whichever time it is, I will make sure I will try to be there.
Right on. Myself as well.
All right. Yeah. So thanks again, Cameron.
Cool.
So moving forward with the agenda, I think in the interest of time, we still have a few topics. Emil, I'm not sure you're still there. Yes. So there are a couple of items from you. Would you like to take it over?
Yes, go through those quite quickly, I guess. So we have been reaching out, I guess, from the TOC to get new sponsors in the different SIGs, which currently lack sponsors, and Tracy has volunteered there. Thank you, Tracy, for volunteering. And I just wanted to state it here, more or less. I guess the SIG is very much okay with having Tracy as a sponsor. So we welcome you there. I don't know. I mean, the process doesn't really say on how, if there is no sponsor anymore for the SIG, how should a new sponsor be elected or appointed or so? Is it to be done by the TOC? I mean, when a new project, a new SIG is created, then obviously the TOC will approve the new SIG coming in. But when some changes happen in the SIG, is it the same then that the TOC should have the final say on approving, say, the sponsor or other changes to the steering of the SIG, so to say?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have to figure that one out.
So I'm happy to create a pull request to just update that SIG listing there in the CD Foundation on that document. But about the process, I'm not sure if we should have some update to that. Maybe we should take that after the elections document have been reviewed and done, so we don't mix those. But you know, I think some update would be needed there. And also, if one person that is currently a sponsor will lose its seat due to elections, what to do then, and who is responsible to appoint a new sponsor?
Yeah, that all very good question, Emil. So I think the way we are doing it now, even though we don't have a process documented, and basically looking for volunteers. But yeah, we have not defined what happens if there is no volunteer. So that's maybe something we should do. I don't know. Is that something, Emil, maybe you would like to draft a possible approach we could document for that, and we could then review it in the next meeting?
Yeah, I can try to think about something there. I know that there are several SIGs now in that. If you just open the list there on the SIGs, it's not just the event SIG that lacks a sponsor. So maybe we should then assume the other ones are actually then not able to elect a new sponsor or appoint one. So we have a short case here, right?
Yeah, I think the request to get volunteers for sponsors recently came out because we discovered this as well. There's a number of SIGs that aren't, don't have an updated or current sponsor. So we kind of put it out there. Andrea asked for folks to volunteer on the TOC, but we didn't follow through with, future processes on dealing with that.
And now that events is a project, does it need to remain a SIG?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
also an interesting topic, and I think we should. I mean, we don't have another steering body yet for the SIG events project, but still, the SIG is still the steering committee, so to say, for the SIG events project. So until we have a formal leader or board for the SIG events project, I think we should keep the SIG at least.
yeah, so far, indeed, we have been like having like discussions that are not specific, not necessarily specific to CD events, but more in general to events and architecture in the SIG events group, or more related to administration and governance there, and the more technical discussions in the CD event working group. But yeah, we could consider merging the two if we see that there is no scope beyond CD events in the SIG.
And I have not attended an interoperability SIG meeting in quite some time. I'm assuming they're still meeting, correct?
Yes, we are.
Mati, is that okay? Because I feel like sometimes that interoperability SIG and the CD events project maybe should be a little more closely engaged. Or are there other topics that are being discussed between those two?
Yeah, recently we just started, getting ready to start another topic that I'm not sure is as close to events as in the past. But something to consider.
Yeah. Sorry. I think we still need to. One thing that we should probably decide is what to do for groups where we don't have a sponsor anymore. I guess the idea of the sponsor is mainly to have someone that makes sure we have updates from the SIGs, and we have a kind of roadmap or a visibility on what the SIG mission is and what is achieving. Is the SIG still needed? Is still actual? Do we need to have like the SIGs that we have today? Do we need to merge SIGs? And like this kind of questions that we are raising now. So
I would say that we, like Emil said, we get through the 2 governance documents that we have in flight right now around the elections and stuff. And then just keep looking for volunteers for, go the volunteer route for a little bit. And then once we get those pull requests done for the election stuff and those other docs that we come back around, that would probably be in like 2 to 4 weeks that we can then take a look at what we do for the sponsors and the documenting how we want that, the whole flow. That'd be my recommendation.
I think that sounds like a reasonable way to do it. Just check off some of the other boxes that we really need to get done the election process. So, and if you want to volunteer for one, please stand up.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I'll try to put together a PR on an updated process to cover for one of these, or some of these aspects at least. Maybe not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah, that'd be great to get just a starting point in place.
Sure. Well, I might not be in the SIG, by the way, when this is to be discussed, but that's another topic. Depends on the elections.
Exactly.
And I could foresee that it may not necessarily be, a TOC sponsor that we may be looking for, but maybe just even cross-project representation. So we have visibility through that route. Just another idea to think of.
sorry, Steve, you mean that we could have like representatives
I could have
for the SIG? Yeah.
Yeah, so I could have like Sasha Wharton from Ortelius, who's not on the TOC, be involved with the Spinnaker as a way to do another way to get an outside view into what the project's doing. And then Sasha would then report what's going on through a TOC representative. Just a thought. Just trying to spread the work out.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so we only have two minutes left. I think just wanted to briefly discuss the last point from Emil. That next meeting is going to run to happen during CityCon. And so how are we going to manage that? I don't know, Emil, you wanted to say something?
No, not really. I mean, I will not be in Silicon myself, so I will be able to join that meeting, but I guess you as the chair will not be there. I think is it at 8 a.m. local time, Pacific?
Yes, it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually possible unless there is another session for the projects or something at that time.
So right now there's nothing scheduled at 8 a.m. So we could still have the meeting. But yeah.
I'd personally rather allow us to focus on those who are on site at CDCon to be focused on the local site rather than doing a remote meeting while we've got that very rare opportunity to be present with each other.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Mark. Any other comment?
I would say that we skip it for that time period. And just like Mark said, keep doing the in-person stuff.
Okay.
I second that. You never know when you get there how difficult it is to find a quiet place for a meeting.
Okay. Okay, so we'll send then a cancellation email for the meeting. And if there is anything we need to discuss, we can set up something ad hoc or do it asynchronously for the mailing list. All right, yeah, thanks everyone. We're over time now, but see some of you in person there in CityCon, and looking forward to meet everyone either virtually or in person in our next meeting.
Sounds
Bye.
good. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good job.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.